Welcome back to the channel. We got week 3 Dom picks. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. The Los Angeles Rams travel out to Philly to take on the Eagles in a rematch from the divisional round. For the Rams, I'm looking at that defense. Last year, Saquon burned us. He ran for over 200 yards in both games. So far to start the year, our young unit has looked pretty good. We've gone up against the Texans, a team who can't solve their own line problems and doesn't really have much of a run game. Then we went up against the Titans last week, a young unit who is still trying to figure out their way in the NFL. This is going to be our biggest test so far to start the year. And I'm intrigued to see whether or not our run defense is going to be legit. To win this game, the Rams are going to have to force the Eagles to throw the ball. And not to throw any shade on Jalen Hurts, the passing game this year has been incredibly lackluster. I expect that to change. It could easily change in this game. I'll get to that in a second. In that playoff matchup, I saw those young guys be able to get after this offensive line. So I don't think it's going to be impossible for us to affect Jalen Hurts. That being said, we're dealing with some injuries in the secondary. Witherspoon, we won't have him for this game and probably most of the season. We'll see if the secondary can hang on though. If they can, and we can nullify or slow down Saquon, I think that increases our chances of winning. Elsewhere for the Rams, I'm looking at that offense. Steve Avila at the time of this recording is questionable. Hopefully he could go in this one. Jalen Carter gave us some fits last year, but this is going to be a game where our playmakers are going to have to be spectacular. I'm looking at Puka. I'm looking at Devontae. They have those young quarters who have adjusted nicely to the NFL. So expect those matchups on Sunday to be similar to a heavyweight battle. And then on the Eagles side, I've already touched on it. Their passing game has struggled mightily. They have the advantage coming into this game. Will they be able to capitalize on it? That pass rush has been the weakness of that defensive unit so far. They have not been the Eagles pass rush we're accustomed to seeing. Can Jalen Carter have more of an impact? After having a game under his belt, will Cedarius Smith be more impactful game 2? For my Dom pick for this game, I'm taking my Rams. Let's go back to the divisional round game. I feel very comfortable in the fact that we have the playmakers offensively who can make enough plays to keep us in the game and give us a chance to win. On top of that, I believe in that young defense. Jared Verse, Philly's own favorite. He is going to make some noise in this one, and I expect that pass rush to be the difference maker to allow us to go 3-0 on the season. Next up, we got the Bengals at the Vikings. 2 backup quarterbacks in this one. Perhaps with Carson Wentz getting the start in this one, maybe that can inject some juice into this offense. The O-line is something I'm going to monitor in this game. Kelly's dealing with a head injury, along with the starting left tackle who's dealing with a concussion. Coming into this game at the time of this recording, they're both questionable. Hopefully Minnesota can get both, if not at least one of them back. This O-line desperately needs them as they've been struggling to start the year off. And on the opposite side with Jake Browning, he just needs to make sure he takes care of the ball. I still feel very confident in this Minnesota Vikings defense. So it's going to be important in this game that Browning doesn't turn the ball over and give the Minnesota fans and that team a chance to get into the game. And through 2 games, since he has the worst run offense, they need to get Chase Brown involved to take pressure off of their backup. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals. I feel more confident with their offense. Carson Wentz is a bit of a question mark. How different can he look in this offense under O'Connell? But also there's too many question marks surrounding that offensive line, and I believe Trey Hendrickson can definitely have an impact. Packers at the Browns, go ahead and give me Green Bay. That defense is going to be too much for a Cleveland Browns offense that doesn't have too many answers. Not to mention Jordan Love looks excellent. Looks like he will be in the MVP conversation. Falcons at the Panthers, I'm going to take Atlanta. That pass rush is looking ferocious and going up against an offensive line in Carolina that's dealing with its fair share of injuries. I think that opens up the door for the Atlanta Falcons to take over this game. Jets at the Buccaneers, unfortunately, New York is going to be without Justin Fields. Get well soon, my guy. Tyron Taylor is going to get the start. Taylor is a capable backup. It's just going up against this Buccaneers defense, I believe he will struggle a bit. That being said, Tampa did lose Kaliza Cansey. We'll see if they're still able to generate enough pass rush. Although the Buccaneers are obviously the favorites, I could see a world where they get upset. Tampa has a ton of injuries on their offensive line. They just lost Cody Monch. We don't know yet if Tristan Wirth is going to play in this game. And then his backup is dealing with a foot injury and will miss this game. That Jets defensive line is pretty good, and I expect them to cause some trouble for Baker. Nonetheless, I'm going to stick with Tampa to win this game. Steelers at the Patriots. Initially, I was going to take Pittsburgh to win this game. However, looking at that New England defense, they look really good. They have a league leading 9 sacks, along with being in the top 5 of least amount of yards allowed, and potentially Christian Gonzalez may make his return this Sunday. I'm going to take New England in a sneaky upset. I do have a cause of concern for this offense because of Drake May's youth, along with not too many playmakers. That can definitely help a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that's kind of underperformed. But being at home and that defense being pretty good and the Steelers offensive line being really bad, I'm going to take my bets on the New England Patriots. Next up, we got the Raiders at the Commanders. Again, at the time of recording, we don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play in this one. If he doesn't, I feel confident in Mariota to get the job done. The Commanders have to get back to run the football. That's what made their offense so dynamic last year. And with Austin Eckler going out with that torn Achilles, that opens up the door for Bill. But I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff Kingsbury utilizes Debo more in the running game. And then in Vegas, we got to figure out this offense. Ashton Jeanty is too good of a running back to, 1, not get enough touches, for 2, not to have the offensive line fighting for him to give him a chance. Offensive line has to be better moving forward. And the same goes for the passing game. They have to be able to pass protect for Geno, give him some time. I will say Geno also has to be better. I don't like that he has 4 interceptions in 2 games. In this game, as long as Geno doesn't turn the ball over, they can pull off the upset. All that being said, I'm still going to lean with the Commanders. Even without Jaden Daniels, I'm going to give the slight advantage to the Commanders offense. Texas at the Jaguars. For Houston, this is almost a must win. I can't see them starting the year off 0-3, going against a Jacksonville defense that's probably slightly improved. I expect them to get back to the Texas offense we saw during the rookie season for CJ Stroud. And then on the Jaguar side, Trevor Lawrence, he has to be better. He's been underwhelming, and I understand he's in the new system. They've worked on his footwork, and that's led to some problems early on, but he has to be better. He's getting paid as one of the elite quarterbacks, and his play has to justify that. And then on top of that, we need to see more Brian Thomas Jr. That young man is too damn talented for him not to be more involved in the offense. I'm going to take the Houston Texans. I think that this defense will tee off on Trevor Lawrence. Surprisingly, that offensive line has been pretty good in Jacksonville. I think that probably changes in this one. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, those two were stellar on Monday. I think they use that momentum to carry over in this one, as they understand their team needs some juice. It needs to get that first win of the year. Colts at the Titans. I want to see if Indiana Jones can continue to lead this offense along with taking care of the football. And for the Titans, Cam Ward has been pretty good. I think that unit as a whole is just young and they're still learning how to play and how to win games. At some point, they will win a game. However, I don't think it's this week. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts. We have an AFC West duel, the Denver Broncos against the LA Chargers. 2 ascending teams in that division, and this is an important game as the Chiefs have started off pretty slow, and whoever wins this game will have an advantage in terms of winning that division. Let's start off with the Chargers. I thought their offense would be more run heavy. So far, they've been very pass heavy, and that's good, especially for fantasy football. But at some point, Amari Hampton and that running game has to get going. As for the Broncos, this is going to be a bounce back opportunity. They're coming off of a disappointing loss against Indy. There's a ton of expectations on the Broncos this year to be much better than what they were last year. And because that Broncos offense has looked pretty good, this is going to be the biggest test for the Chargers defense. They will be without Khalil Mack, who went on IR earlier this week. We'll see what adjustments that Chargers defense can make. With this being their home opener, technically, I'm going to lean with the Chargers. I believe that home field advantage will push them over the top, along with that offense and Justin Herbert being able to be the difference makers in this game. New Orleans at Seattle. Go ahead and give me the Seahawks. That defense is playing out of their minds. I'm hopeful that Witherspoon will play in this game. If he doesn't, I still believe that defense is capable of giving New Orleans problems, as that team doesn't have great quarterback play to overcome that defense. Arizona at San Fran. It was reported earlier this week that Brock Purdy has a chance to play in this game. Even if he doesn't, Mac Jones impressed last week, albeit against the New Orleans Saints. The only cause for concern is that Arizona front seven. That Cardinals defense has been the best part of that team so far. The only knock on Arizona has been their offense, because they've been very underwhelming. I don't understand why they haven't run more plays for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm taking the 49ers with CMC. I believe this offense will find a way. Cowboys and Bears. This is a must win for the Chicago Bears, who've started the season off 0-2. A lot of expectations were had for this team and Ben Johnson. I'm on the side of patience when it comes to the Chicago Bears. However, they have a pretty good matchup this week. The Cowboys defense is coming off of being shredded by Russell Wilson in that Giants offense, an offense that back in week 1 we all were very concerned about. I don't have too many concerns about the Bears offense. I think Caleb Williams has played pretty well. When it comes to that Cowboys pass rush, they just signed Jadeveon Clowney. I don't see him as a game changer, but I do believe he will help that unit. And then in the secondary, we don't know if Blaine is going to be able to return. We saw that unit get cooked last week, and if Deron Blaine doesn't return for this game, that's going to be a massive loss for the Cowboys. Cowboys offense, on the other hand, should be able to eat this week as well, as the Chicago Bears defense is very hurt. They will not have Jalen Johnson, who's dealing with his injury. This game has a shootout feel to it. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears. I believe they're the more hungrier team. And being at home, I believe that crowd is going to will the Chicago Bears to victory. Sunday Night Football, we got KC at the New York Giants. KC is 0-2 this year, and never thought those words would come out of my mouth. Patrick Mahomes and crew, they desperately need to win this game. KC coming into this game, I'm not worried about their defense. That is a unit that throughout their whole entire dynasty has had its ups and downs. That offense, on the other hand, I don't know if they will figure it out. And their solution might just be getting Rasheed Rice and Xavier Worthy back, which the latter might be available in this game. Onto the New York Giants. Russ definitely silenced the critics this past week. I don't expect the Giants to throw up 40 points again. That being said, I don't think this offense will struggle moving the ball. I said this before. I believe that secondary is problematic outside of Trent McDuffie. Running the football, however, is going to be difficult. KC has a pretty stout run defense. We'll see if that's impacted, as they did have some injuries coming out of that Eagles game. It's going to come back to Russell Wilson having to exploit that secondary, and we'll see whether or not Russ is still cooking. The X factor in this game is going to be that Giants pass rush, and we saw it last week. They got after a good Cowboys offensive line, and in this game, a Chiefs offensive line that still has question marks. I feel bad for Patrick Mahomes because there's a high chance he'll be running for his life in this game. I'm going to take KC. They understand they need to win this game, and despite all their problems with the running game, the offensive line, the secondary, they find a way in prime time to win. And to wrap up week 3 Dom picks, we have Monday Night Football, the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. These are two teams with Super Bowl aspirations, and arguably both of them are under the most pressure this year. My X factor for the game is Jared Goff. I feel like when it comes to these big time matchups, Jared Goff sometimes is hit or miss, especially in that Sunday night game against Houston. In this game, Jared Goff just needs to properly manage the game. He can have backbreaking turnovers, and overall just be ready for the moment, because there might be a time well, he needs to lead this team on a game-winning drive. And then on the other side, we got Lamar and King Henry. Derrick Henry is coming off of a very, very weird game for his standards. He had only 23 yards rushing. I expect that to be different. That Ravens offense is going to make sure they feed Derrick Henry to get him involved early on. And then with Lamar, I expect him to continue to do Lamar Action Jackson things. And I'm going to group both of the defenses for this one. Both of these units have the talent. However, as a unit, we see hit or miss performances from both of them. In this game, whichever defensive unit is able to be the most consistent, I believe that gives the advantage to their team. For the Lions defense, it's all about execution and being disciplined. And for the Ravens defense, it's all about their secondary. They had to be able to keep up with this Detroit passing game. I expect this to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to lean with the Baltimore Ravens. I trust Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in these type of games. Jared Goff, I'm on the fence about. I'm not sure if we're going to see the best version of him. That's going to wrap up week 3 Dom picks. If you stuck to the end of the video, I appreciate it. Much love as always. Go ahead and like the video. Make sure you comment down below your predictions. Most importantly, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next one.